This is the RSN News Network. RSN News with Michael Lewis. RSN News, Michael Lewis. The House and the Senate are actually going to meet this week on the gun control issue vote. The House and Senate had listened to many victims from Buffalo and from Uvalde, and also actor Matthew McConaughey. John Cornyn was booed at a Republican convention in Houston on Friday. Meanwhile, the January 6th committee will start the second round of hearings that may find former President Trump with criminal charges. Americans across the nation are not only celebrating Juneteenth, but they're also celebrating Father's Day as well. Juneteenth, as you know, was the time when slaves were free in Galveston, Texas in 1865. There are many parades, and even former President Obama will be leading a Juneteenth march down into the nation's capital. More in a moment.
I graduated top of my class in business school. I lead a team of over 100 people. And since I joined the company, my department has increased revenue by 35% year over year.
Also, I make 18% more than her. It's time to close the gap on pay equality.
Let's all do our part.
A message from UKG. In sports, the Golden State Warriors will celebrate their 2022 championship with the parade that will be in downtown San Francisco on Monday. The Warriors defeated the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals by a count of 4-2 on Thursday. Meanwhile, the Colorado Avalanche have taken a 2-0 series lead over the Tampa Bay Lightning, the two-time NHL Stanley Cup champions. Colorado won their game last night by a score of 7-0 in Game 2. And Serena Williams, who graced Wimbledon in England, has announced that she will return to the Summer Classic in London and play in the 2022 Classic. Now, here's weather for your area. Justin Stapleton with the Channel 2 News team. Happy Father's Day to everyone, and happy Juneteenth and Freedom Day to everyone celebrating around the Houston metropolitan area and even in Galveston later on this afternoon. It is going to be a hot one as usual. It is high today. It will be 100, close to 100 degrees. Low tonight will be 75, but there could be a heat advisory toward the middle part of the week as we could actually break records even as close to 105 on Thursday. Right now, it is 90 degrees on Galveston, and in Houston, it's 83 degrees. That's your news on RSN News. I'm Michael Lewis. RSN News, where news comes first. This is the RSN News Network. Hi, I'm Michael Lewis, host of The Weekend Vibe. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers, and happy Juneteenth. In celebration of Juneteenth and salute to the progress of African Americans, we give you this montage from Anthony Mackie and a song, Lift Every Voice and Sing, from Alicia Keys.
At the dawn of the 20th century, America was a country full of promise and hope for many. Black Americans faced a different reality, a nation separate and unequal. Yet their hope persisted. Pained by inequality, but inspired by resilience, writer and civil rights activist James Weldon Johnson put pen to paper. His words would become a unifying call, a hope for a brighter tomorrow, a timeless exhortation to lift every voice and sing.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing our rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on till victory is won. Let us march on to victory.
There are forces that want to take us back to another place. We don't want to go back. We want to go forward.
Aloha pauses just like ow, cause personalized ads of good ideas get found.
You're listening to The Weekend Vibe on the RSN Radio Network with Michael Lewis. Get in and talk now at 1-800-337-7171 or 1-713-534-4231 or 1-415-333-TELK nationwide. Now, from the RSN KQLC's remote studios in Sealy, Texas, here is Michael Lewis. Thank you very much for joining us on the RSN News Network's The Weekend Vibe. I'm yours truly, Michael Lewis, with you. 1-800-337-7171, 1-713-534-4231. We thank you very much for joining us. Happy Father's Day to all of you dads out there as well. And also, happy Juneteenth. A lot of people that are actually celebrating Juneteenth as well. A lot of different events that are going to be going on today as well. As you probably know, you can follow us on Twitter at TheVibeWeekend on Twitter as well. And as you probably know, this part of our show is actually brought to you by Code In Magazine. Code In Magazine, transforming the lives of men. And you can go to their website as well. Go to their website at www.codeinmagazine.com. All right. Today, in about a few minutes, in a couple of minutes, we're going to have Mr. Randall Dobbins. We're going to have him on a CEO Master Series, and we're going to have him on as he's going to be talking about his great work that he's doing with company Dobbins International Diversity Works. He's also part of the founder of the Business Partner Blueprint as well. So we're going to bring Mr. Dobbins on in about a few minutes as well. Sit back. We're also going to talk toward the end. I'll be saluting dads and the freedom or not for us in the African American community as well. All that and more. Sit back. It's going to be a great show. You're listening to the Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis on the RSN News Network and RTV Television. Stay close. I'm going to come back with our guest, Randall Dobbins, the Dobbins International and of the Partner Blueprint, and also a great author as well. Stay close. You're listening to The Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis on the RSN News Network. Coast to coast, this is the RSN News Network. Hi, this is Michael Lewis for Coded Magazine. Coded Magazine is transforming the lives of men. Coded Magazine has great feature stories, and you can also get a subscription digitally, or you can subscribe online. To find out more about this transformation of men and the movement of great leaders that they are focusing on each month, don't forget the Drive magazine is coming up soon. Go to their website at www.codedmagazine.com. This is the RSN News Network. You're listening and watching the RSN News Network's The Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis on the RSN News Network. 1-800-337-7171, 1-713-534-4231. And I have the great, I don't even know what to tell you. I read this gentleman's resume, and I'm very impressed to have him on. I'm very happy to have him on too as well. Randall Dobbins, welcome to the Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis, and thank you for having for us to have you on our show as well. My show as well.
Mr. Lewis, thanks for having me. I very much am excited to be here. Happy Father's Day, happy Juneteenth. I'm so excited.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dobbins. And Randall, you're actually part of the CEO, you president, you're Dobbins International and also Diversity Works, but you're also part of the Diversity Consortium, or it's like a Business Partner Blueprint, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
That's quite a bit here. Just briefly, the Diversity Consortium is a collection of 25 different companies that are looking to make a meaningful and measurable difference in the supplier diversity works landscape, specifically get more business for diverse-owned businesses. And Dobbins International was blessed to be one of the 25 members, and our contribution to it is the Business Partner Blueprint program, which is a program that educates small businesses on how to do business with big businesses.
Let me ask you this, Randall, because I was very intrigued when I looked at all of the information regarding your, just the business entity itself. I know you've got so many businesses that are combinating into one. Now, my first one, what was the driving force behind the business blueprint and the diversity consortium, and the platform's impact and vision in the business community, and how does both of those platforms work to assist the small business owner or even large operations as well every day?
To bottom line, tell you, Michael, I was born in 1960 in Alabama. We can go through when I was called the N-word. We can go through how many arrows I have in my back from being in corporate America for as long as I was. And one of the things that I discovered is we just don't know what we don't know. All right. 30 years ago, 70% of the reason why we weren't getting corporate contracts is because we look like we do. Today, that's 30% of the reason. So the question is, in 2022, that's 30% of the reason. The question is, what don't we know about competing at this level? So my why is legacy. Simply put, 2 weeks ago, McKinsey did a study that said that diverse business owners are outperforming regular traditional business owners. And then more specifically, children of diverse business owners are 6 times more likely to attend and graduate from college. Families of diverse business owners are more likely to have health care. So my why is we're building legacy. Economic empowerment.
And I'm really very impressed that for me it's more so of, I'm kind of like in the same situation as you. I mean, I was actually a West Coast kid, but we came into Texas, and we really actually we actually had the same issue. I had a grandmother that had a hat shop. She was very well known, and back then, it's creating legacies. She even said the same thing, creating legacies. I really, really like that. And that's a good viewpoint to have on there. Let's go with it. You are a best-selling author, and you've been honored with many contributions in the business arena for business strategies such as managing partnerships and contract negotiations of the like in corporate business development. Can you elaborate? Because I looked at something on your file in regards to and I want to make sure I'm saying this correctly here. It is the XBE contract ready preparation, and the meaning of its negotiations of the every business day transaction.
So XBE is a term we coined because typically when you talk about the government definition, the government includes minority, women, veteran, disabled, but it includes the LGBTQ community. So we coined XBE to be all inclusive because in the corporate world, they also include LGBTQ. And so if we're going to talk about diverse business owners, we're talking about all of them. Now, the problem that we are addressing, because you hear this conflict between corporates and XBEs on a regular business, corporations will tell you that XBEs are not contract ready. And basically what they're saying is 3 things. Number one, they're saying that XBEs hadn't really talked to them in a way that they understand the value that the XBE is bringing. Number 2, they aren't necessarily offering a solution. They offer a product, but it's not a solution. It's like they sell the tires, but not the car. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. And number 3, they aren't comfortable that somebody can handle a contract, which is if you only have a $500,000 contract, why should I be comfortable giving you a $5 million PO? If you have a $500,000 company in annual revenues, why would I be comfortable giving you why would I be comfortable giving you $1 million contract? So the consortium addresses all those 3 issues so that everybody's ready to play. You mentioned in one of your commercials about the Golden State Warriors, and it's one of those things that people forget with the Fortune 1000. Every day is an NBA Finals game for them. Okay.
I understand. Yes, I can relate to that.
I'm going after them. It's like, what did you do get to prepare? Are you ready? Do you have the skills? And oh, by the way, you may have worked for the NBA, but you might not be ready to suit up and play in the finals.
That is a really big, and it was so conglomerately put as far as, the conglomeration of, okay, I'm going to give you one, you're going to give, I signed, one deal may be this much amount of money, but then you're talking it's almost like there's a twofold thing onto that as well. And you're listening and watching The Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis in 1-800-337-7171, 1-713-534-4231. You're also 415-333-TALK. If you're going nationwide, you can also comment on StreamYard and also on our RTV television channel as well. I'm here with the distinguished Mr. Randall Dobbins, from president of Dobbins International Diversity Works, but he's also with the Diversity Consortium, or also founder of the Business Partner Blueprint. Hopefully, and now you're based out of what, Austin, Texas?
Hey, Texas. Austin.
Oh, okay. And you're up there in the state capital. Okay, and let's go with this. And I know this is kind of like off the record on this, as far as
crew.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with it. I know that when you say the Business Consortium and you say, or the Business Partner Blueprint, are you doing anything such as, say, for instance, like, is it something where you guys do seminars, or like weekly, like monthly seminars, or just basic presentations to businesses?
Okay. So and thank you for that. I appreciate that. So the consortium is end to end. The consortium has upstream products that service corporations. We understand what their supply chain requirements are, how it relates to supplier diversity. Supplier diversity is the organization that works with women and minority business owners, or XBEs. Okay. And they have a lot of internal requirements, because a lot of them are struggling to get to 3%, 20%, 50% minority women or XBE business content. If you're in California and you're a public utility, they have a requirement that 50% of your supply chain is with diverse businesses, and they're struggling to meet that goal. Okay. So our upstream products work with the corporations to support them. Our downstream products are related to XBEs. And not only does it include Diversity Works and the Business Partner Blueprint, which is educating XBEs on what you need to know, but we also have things like financial services. We also have things like healthcare services. We also have things like additional coaching and other training modules. We have a shared services platform, which, imagine if you can get a professional back office without having to spend the entire cost. You get it on a fractional basis. If you only need 20 hours of a CFO, 5 hours of an HR VP, 30 hours of an IT, a CIO and whatnot, you get all of that with all the tools and skills they need, so that when that $5 million order comes in, your back office mirrors what a Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 is looking for, and they don't exclude you because you look like you're not ready.
That's really the big thing, I think, in regards to a lot of businesses, that those are the ones that are unprepared. It's almost like, okay, let's go retrain. Like, the reference you made, you may be playing in NBA, but are you prepared to play in the finals? I would just say, just as anyone playing the Super Bowl or the World Series, it's almost like it sounds like the preparation needs to be there. And if you're not prepared as a business, especially in an economy like this, that's going, that's flipping back and forth, you're really not going to really know. Like you said, it's how much you know or what you know. And if you don't really know what the business flux is moving back and forth and how to prepare for it, you're going to be out of the water.
You put your finger on it, and I do want to go back and make sure I specifically answer the question you asked. That people can go to the diversityconsortium.com website, and they can look for the different, what we call micros, different courses that we offer, as well as the YouTube channel. And you can go to any of the platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, blueprintpros.com, and you can see a number of podcasts that Diversity Works and Dobbins International and business partner Blueprint has published, so that folks can get some really good, robust information on what this environment is like, what are the skills that they're going to need, address some of the misconceptions that people have about going into this space. And, specifically if you're a startup, how do you get prepared to succeed in this? Because if you don't do the preparation, you're going to hit your head against the wall. You're going to be frustrated, and you're going to start believing like folks believed. That you're going to start believing what was the reality 30 years ago, that folks aren't serious about doing business with people that look like you. And that's just far from the case. We've got a $17 billion company, a couple of $2 billion companies. Folks that look like us are about 1.3 trillion in sales in the US. So if you say, 1.3 trillion in sales in the US for XBEs out of a $19 trillion economy means somebody's not serious. Like, hey, pick your definition of not serious.
Somebody's out there doing it quite well.
And that's the thing. I think and you hit the head on the nail. That percentage of African American businesses, you hit the head on the nail. It's just really, we're not really well represented in the, it could be the women's MBE or even it just seems like that percentage. You think there's more of a higher percentage, but it's not, and it's just like, where are we? Where are we standing?
And what's our part in the equation?
Corporations aren't required to do business with under this whole ESG thing, which for our listeners, if they're not familiar with it, get familiar with it. DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion. If they're not familiar, get familiar with it. These are priorities for the Fortune 1000. The other companies are talking about how they add value using the terms in those two initiatives. So we need to be doing the same thing. As we said, it's a skills matters game. And if we can't invest and figure out the skills to play in the game, then we might be left out the game.
And that's really, I totally agree with you. I really totally agree with you. I said, if we can't get those skills, oh wow, we are really going to be left behind here. Before we go actually on a break here, let me also ask this question as well. Now, as far as I know in just viewing your impact on both platforms, it works. I don't know if it works, and maybe you may have said this earlier, in regards to focusing on the disadvantaged business community. Could you explain on how these platforms assist in achieving those goals for this business demographic?
Absolutely.
We are on an engagement model, and I'm going to be candid with everyone. I am in the school of free has no value. Okay. And it's like, if somebody came to you and said, and I'm just picking numbers right now. If somebody came to you and said, hey, would you spend $100,000 to make $1 million? A savvy CEO would look at that and say, absolutely. Some would say I'd spend $500,000 to make $1 million. Some would say I'd spend $800,000 to make $1 million. Now you talk to a lot of us about what are we prepared to invest in our businesses to go after the contracts with the Fortune 1000. And we constantly say we'd rather go through the school of hard knocks. So the platforms actually offer for engagement various products and services geared towards the needs of diverse business owners to solve the challenge in their business, specifically to get them more contracts.
Okay. So basically, what it is that it's more or less of assisting them to enhance their business by getting more of those contracts, whether it be government or whether it be state or whatever the programs are offered. Correct if I'm not mistaken. Okay.
And this case, not government and state.
And what you tell some people is because the rules of engagement in those markets is pretty transparent and clear because they have to be because they're using taxpayer money. That's why you know what the price was paid and you get to know all this other kind of stuff. With the Fortune 1000, they have what we call shareholder responsibility. They have proprietary information. And oh, by the way, what they paid their suppliers is confidential and secret information. It just is. You don't want your competitors knowing that you're buying cheaper than they are. Okay. In a competitive market, those are things you don't tell people. And so there's specific techniques that you need to understand how to play in that game, which is very different than the government or education and whatnot. Now, the good news is you take a situation like McDonald's and Martin Brower. Most people aren't familiar with that relationship, but if you ever go into McDonald's and watch the trucks that drive up, you'll see the white trucks with the blue label that says MB. That relationship has existed since McDonald's was first created. And what people don't know is McDonald's primary business is real estate. All of the stores are franchise owned. So then it's like, well, who owns the warehouses? Who owns the trucking? Where did the materials and supplies come from? That comes from a company called Martin Brower.
And I remember hearing about that too. Martin Brower, that's a very well-known company where you see all the trucks. And I remember even when I was younger back in college, I would always see those trucks pull up. Martin Brower. What we're going to do, Randall, we're going to put a pause on it for just a minute. We're going to take a little small break. When we come back, we're going to have continue this great conversation with Randall Dobbins. He is the guy who's I'm just totally impressed with him as well. You are listening and watching the Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis on the RSN News Network and RTV Television. You're listening and watching the Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis on the RSN News Network. This is the RSN News Network.
Meet a future mom, a first-time mom, and a seasoned pro. This mom's one step closer to their new minivan. Yeah, you'll get used to it. This mom's depositing money with tools on hand. Cha-ching. And this mom, well, she's setting an appointment here so her son can get set up there and start his own financial journey. That's because these moms all have Chase. Smart bankers, convenient tools. One bank with the power of both. Chase, make more of what's yours.
This is the RSN News Network.
We can make that happen, definitely.
This looks great.
Bring it and have
Getting through the morning meeting in one piece
thanks.
feels good. Then realizing it's payday. That definitely feels good. All while keeping the kids busy and the clients happy. You're unstoppable. With a Wells Fargo checking account, you can bank without missing a beat.
This is the RSN News Network. You're listening and watching the Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis. 1-800-337-7171, 1-713-534-4231, or that's in Texas, or across the nation, you can do it on 415-353-TALK. I'm just really Michael Lewis with you. I am here with the distinguished gentleman, Randall Dobbins. He is actually the CEO and president of Dobbins International, but also has Diversity Works as well. And also, and it's run out of Austin, and also the Business Partner Blueprint. And we've been talking in regards to a lot of, and Randall, thank you very much for being on the show today as well on this Father's Day, and happy Father's Day as well if you're a dad, and also happy Juneteenth as well, Heritage Day as well. Before we go into this, don't forget next week we will be actually on vacation. So we are going to, we will not be back until after July 4th weekend. So we'll be back on July the 10th as well. All right, so let's go back into what we were talking about, because this has been really, I've been really intrigued by your experience and everything, Randall. And let's go into this. And this is just off the question tracker. My Q&A tracker. Let's go with as we've been seeing, you've been talking about if you're not prepared, your businesses are not prepared. I know in today's economy, a lot of businesses, and we've been talking about Juneteenth, a lot of people have been talking about Juneteenth and supporting black businesses this weekend, or MVE businesses, because of Juneteenth and Heritage Day. A lot of polls in Forbes or the New York Times says that an actual African-American business possibly may make maybe 6 months to a year before bankrupt, going out of business. What are your feelings and thoughts about that?
So to circle back to what we mentioned just a moment ago, I would first want our audience to know that although I'm very positive and optimistic about what we can do, I'm realistic about the situation, and I can affirm the struggle is real. And I want our listeners to know that some of you have had experiences in this market where it isn't an issue of whether or not to use the sports analogy again, the referee made the right call. What you realized was there was no referee, no umpire, no hall monitor, and you felt like you got the bad end of something, and you most likely did. Most of us aren't familiar with the whole Sears model, not so much with Walmart today as it was in the past, but a lot of times big companies just exploited small businesses, diverse business specifically. They would give you contracts they knew you couldn't handle, force you into bankruptcy, and take over your intellectual property and your inventory and whatnot, bring it in and start doing it themselves. So, we have this concept of talking about being a savvy CEO, and it's about learning what you don't know. And that specifically, Michael, gets to the point that you just raised. Yes, it is difficult running a business. And yes, there's a lot more challenges for XBEs because we just don't know what we don't know. We don't know that we should have a banking relationship as one of the key people as part of our business. We should be able to call our bank, have a working line of capital, have a financial system in place so that when these downturns in the economy occur, we're not trying to figure it out. It's like if you didn't have a banking relationship in place before the pandemic and you were relying on PPP funds, you did your business a disservice, because you better doggone well bet that JP Morgan Chase and all these other folks had people calling them and arranging credit lines and warehouse lines and a whole host of things in preparation for what's going on. They could call some of their key suppliers and say, hey, look, this is bad for everybody. Our credit is good, and we're going to have to change our payment terms from 60 days to 120 days. And for us as an XBE, if somebody, because cash flow is our stock and trade, if somebody calls us and tell us that, we're like, oh my goodness, I'm facing bankruptcy. And the issue becomes, well, what could you have done before? It's like you could have had a relationship with the bank, a financial institution before this happened. Okay. You could have negotiated terms with some of your suppliers and some of your customers, like the big boys do, to manage your way through this. Okay, you can actually start looking at financial management and cash flow and whatnot to stop running a business where you're the last one to get paid because you are trying to make sure your employees are kept whole. And now you're spending out of savings just to keep the operation afloat. That's real. We get it. But it begs the question, What could you have done to avoid the situation in the first place? How do you make sure you're running at 20, 30, 40% margins? How do you pick industries so that that's available? How do you bundle products and services so that you might have to go tight on a product because that's what the market says, but then you can put a service on top of it that compensates for the profit leakage that you have. These are all things in order for us to be savvy CEOs and savvy business owners is that we have to do to address that very issue, and to know that not only personally, but for the business, we need to have a war chest. Okay.
Yeah, and really big things about it is the fact is that the reason why I say that is because, a lot of people have gone into the urban communities. I know here in the, in the Houston area, metropolitan area, they're actually advising or they're telling a lot of people to, when you do go to the seminars or even to some of the festival events today, and today and yesterday, to always to buy the African American business first, and everything. But I think, and this is just to expound on it too as well, Randall. Is it more because, as we go back to what we talked about earlier, is it more that some African American businesses, the preparation is, as you stated, they went through the PPP, but they're not related to the Wells Fargos or the Chases or even the bigger banks as well? Is it just the preparation of one thing called the business plan that's not there?
So you asked a fantastic question. I'm going to share folks a little bit about my resume. I was actually a buyer for Shell Oil Company. I lived and worked in Houston for years.
That's okay, Randall. We won't tell.
Years I lived and worked in Houston. Shell at the time was the largest company in the world, vying with ExxonMobil when oil and gas dominated before tech took over. And I can tell you point blank that within about 30 seconds to a minute, I knew whether or not a supplier, any supplier, especially diverse suppliers, could do business with Shell. It did not take long. And any professional buyer can do the same read. And it has nothing to do, I can tell you as a Black man, it had nothing to do with skin color, gender, or any other factor. All right. I could listen to the conversation and I could tell who was prepared, who was ready to play, who was suited up. And I could, if I'm Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors, who I could put in the rotation.
You can kind of say, okay, who's Jordan Poole and who's Steph Curry and who's Klay Thompson? Right. That's understandable.
I mean, it didn't take long.
All right. And what I can tell you then is, from the perspective of the business partner blueprint, it is, let us help you discover what you don't know so you can create what you haven't yet imagined. It is a skills matters business. And I want to put a fine point on this, which is because we all do this as buyers ourselves. All right. Very few of us are going to put our livelihoods at risk on an unknown.
Yes.
So I got to have some sense that if I'm going to bring somebody into my organization, into my supply chain, they're going to succeed. And the problem that a lot of us XBEs are facing is so many people failed before us that the scrutiny is higher than it's ever been. So we have to do our work to be ready. Now, I mean, you can say it's unfair. You can call it whatever you want to, but a lot of folks before you failed and left a black eye in the organizations. And these organizations don't have a lot of money to throw away on these kinds of things. I mean, imagine if you're General Motors, you bring a supplier in that gives you a bad tire. Now, we know what the recall cost is. Lord knows if you have a blowout at 65 miles per hour, what that's going to look like. And not to mention your reputation, brand tarnish, and loss of sales. So it's like, I'm not going to put my business at risk for that. I'm just not.
And I totally agree with you. It's just almost like you're saying, what you're saying, what makes a lot of sense because, I could take a look at somebody in 30 minutes, as a former sports coach, basketball coach. I could take a look at you when you walk into the tryout center, the gym, and to try out to be prepared. You're not prepared. If you can't last a drill for 30 seconds, you are not prepared to actually participate, and you go to the next level. That is just so greatly. I'm so happy that you're greatly using the Warriors and everything. That's a good thing, because boy, if we were using the Celtics, boy, we'd be in bad trouble right now.
Like you said, from somebody comes in and go, yeah, okay, all right, I didn't go all that, but I just need a chance. I just need an opportunity. Let me show you what. And you're looking at everybody either before them or after them and going, well, they came prepared. you might be that one in a million. You just might be. Hey, but even with LeBron James, and to our audience members that don't really care for these sports metaphors, I apologize. But even with LeBron James, we had a good idea of what his resume looked like by the time he got out of high school.
Pretty much, yeah. He was prepared. Let's go to the next one, Randall. And we're coming up on the top of the hour, and you are listening and watching Coast to Coast, the Weekend Vibe with me, Michael Lewis. Again, my prestigious welcome also as to our guest today, Randall Dobbins, CEO, founder of the Business Partner Blueprint, also president of Dobbins International and Diversity Works out of Austin, Texas. And Randall, thanks again for joining us as well.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Let's go to the next one. And you also, just going back to your experience, before you had Dobbins International and the connected platforms to that, you worked as and it's probably just going back to you were a national chain manager, and this must have been the experience you had with Shell or the petrochemical company. And also you worked also with as a national accounts manager for a pay-to-platform company. And let me say, and how was the transition into what you're doing now with your actual business and the consortium and the blueprint? How did that bring you to starting your own successful platforms?
Well, hey, it is Father's Day. So I can say, like a Baptist member, Baptist minister, even though I'm not one, but God.
And the choir said amen.
All right. Simply put, you wake up one day when you're in your quiet moment and you're trying to make sense of the world, and all of a sudden the pieces fall in place where you realize you've been prepared for a moment.
And it goes back to the preparation.
All right. And it was like my life experiences, even with the struggles, were not an accident. Unbeknownst to me, there was a table being prepared before me. And the question is, was I going to have the faith to walk it? The Business Partner Blueprint pulls together 6 different dimensions of what you need to be successful in the Fortune 1000. It pulls together the experience of the person that's requisitioning something, the person who has the need in the company. It pulls together the perspective of the actual buyer. What does the buyer need to get the transaction across the door? It brings the perspective of Fortune 500 company that has to sell to these guys, and what are the pitches that works when you are selling to them. It brings the perspective of an actual business owner, a minority business owner, and what are the struggles and challenges in penetrating this market and getting in and proving yourself. It brings together the perspective of somebody who's actually trained women and minority business owners, XBEs, for 14 years on how to do this, who's actually trained thousands of companies on how to do this. And so you look at all of that, and it's like the Business Partner Blueprint brings a lot of that together so that if you say, hey, I'm serious about doing this, what do I need to know? This is the one place that you can come and get a view of what's really required. And so what I want people to know, because we talked a lot about the struggle and how difficult this is, I also want them to know your business can succeed in this market if you are prepared to do the work. And one of the things that we do for folks that are currently doing it and frustrated and they can't seem to compete against their larger competitors, what we call the supplier glass ceiling, it's kind of like a golf swing or a basketball shot. We may have to go to the fundamentals and break some bad habits. Because, what it took for you to succeed to get to one level may not be the same skills and tools you need to succeed to get to the next level and then the next level. And so just like the companies that we see today, they are all learning organizations and growing. CEOs are throwing out skill sets that don't apply for the 2022 market, especially looking through 2030, 2050 with ESG, environmental, social, and governance, with the green agenda and the social agenda and everything else. The skills you used back in the day might not serve you well going forward. And as small business owners, we have to do the exact same thing in order for our businesses to have legacy or survive us. Something we can leave to our children, something we can leave to our employees. We used the Martin Brower example previously. That relationship has been going on for about 50 and 60 years. I don't know how many CEOs have gone through both McDonald's and Martin Brower at this point.
And and that really, it comes down to that, that preparation, and it always comes down to where you are in your business and consorting to your consulting basically to something like a program like yours, to programs that you have. Now let me ask you this also, and we're going to go back to the women-owned businesses, and I know there's a ton. I know I've actually have worked within the actual flow of volunteering with SCORE here in the Houston area with the SBA in 2021. There are a lot of women-owned businesses, or WBEs, in our area, and it's growing across the nation. Do you feel that more WBEs will actually survive as we go into the mid 21st century? Say, for instance, those WBEs that are in their like their 40s or 50s would be able, and even younger entrepreneurs who are even women-owned business owners now, they're in their 20s and 30s, the millennials even, are successful now. Do you feel that this will be a trend of successful business owners going forward?
That's a great and tough question, Michael. Thanks for asking. I'm going to think out loud just a little bit, but not too much. We've got two competing odds. We've got the big companies that are consolidating the market. What most people don't really appreciate about the pandemic is the big companies got bigger because a lot of the small businesses were considered non-essential. And the big businesses were able to strip shopping centers were just decimated. But because the big companies had infrastructure to take the orders online and ship overnight, the Amazon model is just something crazy. Now, if you can be a seller to Amazon or Etsy or all these other folks, that's a new business model for a lot of folks. So the question, I think, for WBEs and everyone else is, it's not so much whether or not your business can be successful moving forward. It's more of, do you have the right business model to adjust to what's going on in the market? And what we talk about in the Business Partner Blueprint is this issue of domain expertise and subject matter expertise. Domain is, what do you know about the industries that you sell in? Subject matter is what's going on specifically with your product. Imagine if you made PPE. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If you understood the domain of PPE and you understood that a lot of it was in China, you had one perspective. If you had the product of masks, gloves, face shields, and something else, then you had an understanding of what really needed to happen to position yourself for what came. And what we tell folks, what's coming, what's coming down the road. You as a domain expert have to have some appreciation for what's going on globally. And I hope your audience really appreciates this, takes this to heart, grab a pencil and write this down. We went whole hog on globalization, but the pandemic exposed the fact that there are critical national supplies that need to be provided locally or in countries that aren't necessarily hostile to us. If you are 3M, and the Chinese government is saying you can't ship masks and gloves from the airports there to the U.S. and you're a U.S.-based company, you're like, So, we have this thing called the Defense Production Act, and that is what allowed 3M to get product out of China. But at the same time, and I hope our listeners are really and truly zeroing in on this, we recognize that we need to bring some of that manufacturing back to the U.S. And here in Texas, we've got Samsung building a $20 million plant just outside $20 billion. They just announced a $20 billion factory that they're doing outside of Austin. Taiwan chip manufacturing has got one coming up, $17 billion in Ohio. Intel or somebody else has 2 chip manufacturing facilities going up in Arizona. You got over 60 billion of new construction. So that means if you are a builder, a plumber, in trades, in construction, that is money where people are looking for XBEs to come in to help with those projects. Tesla built a giga plant here in the Austin area. Texas is booming right now, okay? But a lot of that is in response to people realizing that we used to be able to rely on the global economy because you could put it on a ship, put it on an airplane, and within 24 to 32 hours or 36 hours or whatnot, stuff could be here. But you have something like the pandemic, which exposed us, and it's unacceptable to not have feminine products on the shelves. It's unacceptable to not have baby's milk on the shelf. It's unacceptable to have a lot of these things. So stuff that is really vital to our economy, it means we have to start bringing it back in as every other nation is doing, and that creates opportunities for XBEs. And if we see this, if we understand it's going on, we know our domain, we know our subject, we can start watching the market trends and position our business accordingly. So for women business owners and everybody else, it isn't so much that you are destined to go out of business or to increase your business. It's more of, is your business model positioned for what's going on in the economy? That was a little longer.
No, that was a lot informative. That was very informative, Randall. And that's the thing. I think with a lot of the businesses that there's so much money. I mean, you're talking about here in the metropolitan Houston area. They're talking about bringing a Toyota plant just, I believe, west of here. They already have a Toyota parts plant just a little bit away from Sealy, Texas, and San Felipe, Texas. And as you said, our state is booming right now. And you remember when I think your parents would drive you to the country, and then you'd say you see the livestock and the sheep, and I said to myself, something tells me 20 years later, maybe 30, 40 years later down the road, it's going to be the Jetsons out there. It's going to be somebody building some sort of construction, somebody building some sort of, and we're talking about towns that are now 5,000, were about 1,000, maybe 2,000 back then, are now 25 to 50 to 70,000, and we're not going to have the countryside anymore. That's for sure. We won't. Randall, let me ask you this also as well. Now, I know you talked about this. a little bit earlier, and now you're talking about the business services. They can actually see that on the website, right? For the consortium and also for the business partner blueprint as well, correct?
Right. You can just go to thediversityconsortium.com and you can look on for XBEs or for suppliers, and you can go to businesspartnerblueprint.com and you can see what's going on with our current promotions. We have one, and it is by application. What we tell folks is, if you are serious about doing business in this space, and if you're serious about really and truly discovering what you don't know, we're going to support you. But if you're not serious, we kind of like Miracle on 34th Street, we may have to refer you to Bendels or Gimbals or so we take folks that are really serious and ready to do the work. And what we tell folks is, we understand people have a lot of lifetime history, but if you walk in the door believing that they're not going to do business with you because of this, that, and the other, and so forth, then you're probably right. But if you want to discover, what is it going to take for them to do business with you, then the Business Partner Blueprint Campus is where you want to be.
Most definitely. And let me ask you that, because I think that there are a lot of the listeners is also, because sometimes you get the SB, the SBA local hubs such as the SCORES, and they have their seminars for small business, and as you said, the SBEs or ZBs. Oh my golly, I just made a farce on it, but there we go. You got it. And I know that they do different various locations. Do you do if there are any seminars or coaching, is it virtual, or is it just, like say you come to their town or they're in the Austin area, do they register for those seminars?
For the consortium, we
do it on an as-needed basis. It's customized. We are looking to reinvigorate our on-site programs. I'm not quite sure if we're going to do it third or fourth quarter. Okay. For Business Partner Blueprint, we're still virtual, and we can deliver worldwide. Okay. Most of our material is on our training platform, and what we do is you can get through it in 90 days. Think of it as a semester at U of H or UT or UCLA or NYU, or but because the real work with doing this kind of work comes with somebody to hold your hand when a real live deal comes in and you're not quite sure what's going on with the transaction. Some of the shenanigans are still out there. How do you integrate the material in this particular situation? So, you go through our 90-day program, and we will be there to support you for 9 additional months. Okay. And what we are doing, some people have an immediate need. They can't do virtual for 90 days. They don't want to be coached in a group or whatnot. We do have a 3-day program that we can put together for folks. It starts on a Friday, goes through Sunday. It's going to be about 26 hours of material, so easily 8 hours a day. It includes live simulations. It includes a whole host of things. Depending on class sizes, we do that, and we are able to do that. Now that folks are traveling again, we can do that where needed, as needed. Because everybody's now going back out in the public eye, and they're actually going through now that since the pandemic has actually kind of lessened a lot as well. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter, and you can also view the show on Twitter on The Vibe Weekend as well. You can also get our audio off of our KRBH 97.1 pod on the Podbean as well. You can click on our network, and we will have a copy of this show as well. Let me ask you this next question as well. In basic, as we get ready to close the program, what is it? Again, thanks very much for being on the show today as well.
If you were, say for instance, we have a lot of young professionals and say millennial professionals that are that coming out of the school, they went to business management school or maybe at University of Houston or University of Texas or any of the other colleges across the United States, excuse me. What would you tell them as far as planning to do their own business, whether it be, MBE, WBE, whatever the case may be? What tools or concepts or advice would you give that beginning business owner that maybe in their under 30, maybe in their 20s? What would you tell them? Because a lot of them are getting into these businesses that are franchise owned and say, yes, I'm doing XYZ with travel agency, but it's not under my name, it's on somebody else's name. It's kind of like I'm doing they go into the MTM, or I said it right? I'm sorry, like a money level marketing company. MLM. There we go. I don't know why I was thinking about MTM. But what would you tell them as far as if they're going into business? What would you tell them, the young business owner, to be?
Great question, Michael. I'm going to tell them, hey, if you are graduating from Howard or Texas Southern or Alcorn or any other place, you can listen to me and Michael, or you can say, hey, these are a bunch of older guys and they just, they're out of the game. So I'm going to tell you two things. The first thing I'm going to tell you, because you actually have an advantage that Michael and I didn't have. First, I will tell you there's no excuse for being broke. Now, that might be hard to hear for a lot of folks, but Michael and I did not have the opportunity to go to GoDaddy, spend $7.99 to buy a domain name and can have a global business in less than 24 hours. We just didn't.
You are totally right. I mean, we were just, clopping on the typewriter, just typing up business plans for the last, for like 4 or 5 hours and saying, okay, what do we do next?
We had the brick and mortar. We had to do something right off the bat in the local community. We had to see if we can get multiple locations in the city. Then we had to see if we could expand across the state. And then we could see if we could go national and then global. And we had to have banking arrangements and financing and construction for building and all these other kinds of things. There weren't computers, and I'm not aging you, Michael, so I apologize if it feels like I'm aging you. I go to the gym. I feel old every day I go there. So the first thing that I want to tell you is, dare to dream, do it, get out there. And you've heard me say it 3 times before, discover what you don't know to create what you haven't yet imagined, because more than any time ever in history, if you can think of it, there's got to be a way to get it done. The possibilities for you are endless. The second thing that I would tell you, especially if you're a young person, is collaborate. You can call that the second, third, and fourth thing. The reason I call it the business partner blueprint is, unfortunately, in a lot of the XBE communities, we're taught to be lone wolves. We're taught to go alone. A number of you have heard the crabs in a bucket syndrome, where if you know anything about crabs in a bucket, no crab gets out because all of the other crabs keep pulling it back down. That's where that phrase comes from. And what you'll find in a number of XBE communities, there's not a lot of support. Michael, you mentioned it earlier about buying from other Black-owned businesses and XBEs. And so you have to learn, you have to have a mindset. You have to say, I will work in a team. I will collaborate. Together, we all succeed. Individually, my chances of failing is 10, 20, 100 times higher. And so we spent a lot of time in the business partner blueprint talking with you about how to collaborate, because that is one of those areas where it's both right and wrong ways to do it and smart and not so smart ways to do it. Normally you hear me say they're smart and not so smart is not so much right or wrong, because you get old enough, it's like everything is nuanced. But I'll tell you, when it comes to collaborating and working with partners, business partners, there's right and wrong ways to do it. And there's both smart and not so smart ways of doing it. And if you discover that now, you'll never look back.
You know, that is very, very much so the thing that wow. Randall Dobbins, it has just been an awesome pleasure to have you on the show as well on this Father's Day and Juneteenth as well. And just let everybody know, Ken, just one more time for me, let everybody know where they can connect with you as well and how they can connect with the platforms as well.
You can go to businesspartnerblueprint.com.
And you can look at our current program. You can go to the diversityconsortium.com and you can look at our offerings there. And if you have any questions to me, you can send it to WeCare, WECARE, at businesspartnerblueprint.com. If you have any questions about anything Michael and I talked about, you'll get a response back from us within one business day.
Randall, thank you very much for being on the program as well. And thank you very much for being a part of this great day of Father's Day and sharing it as well. Some great business tips and opportunities as well for small business owners, especially on this day of freedom as well for Juneteenth as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having this platform. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate you, my friend. And I am available to support you whenever you call. Thank you so much.
Randall, when we come back, we're going to actually have the final version of this show. When we come back, I'm going to actually talk more in regards to the Father's Day and also Juneteenth as well. As we close out this program, you are listening to the Weekend Vibe on the RSN Radio Network, the RSN News Network, and also RTV Television. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Weekend Vibe on the RSN News Network. This is the RSN News Network. Hi, this is Michael Lewis. Don't forget to join us on the 10th of July, 2022, as we come back with the Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis. But in the meantime, please go to a great magazine. It is Coded Magazine. Coded Magazine is transforming the lives of men. Go to the website www.codedmagazine.com. They have a great July edition coming out, and they have some featured stories as well as successful CEOs and also other business owners are featured as well. The digital subscription is free, but there is also a paid subscription as well. To find out more information, go to their website at www.codedmagazine.com. This is the RSN News Network.
The blackness. Keep on.
Happy Juneteenth from the RSN News Network and its affiliates. You're back to the Weekend Vibe on the RSN News Network. 1-800-337-7171, 1-713-534-4231. I am yours truly, Michael Lewis with you. Again, thanks to Randall Dobbins with the business partner Blueprint, also the Business Consortium, and also with Dobbins International being our guests as well, being my guests on the show. We won't be back until July 10th, 2022. We won't be back until July 10th. That is going to be a great show. We're going to take off for the July 4th week. So we will be back as well. But July 10th, we will be back with our show as well. And there'll be some great guests on as well. Let's go ahead and let me leave you with this thought as well as we end this program as well for this great Sunday edition. What we have learned about Juneteenth is pretty much standard. We were free. And how does Juneteenth, and my vibe and thoughts brought to you by Code Magazine, transforming the lives of men. The failed unity of the black community has failed throughout this time frame of Black Lives Matter. Where is the unity among African Americans as far as we're concerned? There is none. Have we failed each other? Yes, we're going to go buy from other MBEs or WBEs that are minority owned. What have we missed? We missed a lot. As we probably know, Juneteenth is today. We hope and pray that my hope and prayer is that for some reason that celebrations and events and everything of that nature go on very safely, without a hitch, or without someone called a serial multiple shooter killer. Guns in the black community. We're not only being victimized by our own realm of thinking. Yes, cops are getting us. Yes, racist groups are getting us. But are we really getting to the point of the fact is that we are actually killing each other? We don't have to get a gun. Remember, all crabs or crows are in the same basket. One crab or one crow is actually trying to leave and make an impact on the community, but the crabs and the crows could be family members, it could be neighbors, it could be people you grew up with, may not believe in your vision, or even your purpose, or why you are there. Why are you doing this? You're killing. We kill more dreams than we shoot each other. That we are doing mostly now. Big Brother's laughing at it because we're failing ourselves. And the Forgotten Dads, well, you know, we're always being in the stereotypical, whether we're godfathers or whether we're actual real biological fathers who may have walked out on their families. At some point in time, we have to realize, though, as well, when do we learn that unity in our community may make us a little bit more open to work with other communities? It's just not black-owned or black this or urban this. Yes, I'm African American, 365, or how many days God puts me on this earth to breathe. At some point in time, you have to realize, though, there are other conglomerates and people out there for you to actually work with. Multicultural, multi-ethnic. But we don't understand our generational upbringing because we're still cursing each other in that right. The forgotten real dads are the guys that do what they have to do to fight for their families, save women from children from burning buildings if they're firefighters, or go in front of 5 young women as well. We are forgotten, but we understand. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and also happy Juneteenth to everyone. And thank you very much for joining me on the RSN News Network's The Weekend Vibe, and thank you very much for listening and watching on StreamYard and also on Podbean if you're doing the audio version. Do not forget, we will come back on the 10th of July at noon Eastern, 11 Central, and 9 a.m. Pacific. We'll have a special guest at that time. Until that time, be kind to one another, and remember, unity first on all levels of ethnicity, race, creed, and color. Love you guys. God bless. We'll see you. You've been listening and watching the Weekend Vibe with Michael Lewis on the RSN News Network. Coast to coast, you're listening to the RSN News Network. This is KRBH FM, KQLC.